We are in Christian Apologetics, continuing on where we have been in this section, which is the Bible is the Word of God. We've already discussed there is a God. Now we are looking at the biblical text. And we are looking at Genesis chapter 1 at the moment. We're not going through everything in the chapter. We are skipping, because we need to do so for the sake of brevity, but even then, it's not brief. But here's our quote for the day. This is Nelson Gluck, or Gleck. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Here is, he wrote Rivers in the Desert, A History of the Negev. This is from that. It may be stated categorically that no archaeological discovery has ever controverted a biblical reference. Scores of archaeological findings have been made which conform in clear outlines or exact detail historical statements in the Bible. We will have more quotes, not from him necessarily, but identical to that. What is he saying? He's saying that where the Bible has stated a fact, where it can be confirmed, whether historically or archaeologically, it's always accurate every single time. Through all of these centuries. Yeah, there was a point in time when, from the destruction of Nineveh to sometime in the I guess in the 500s or thereabouts, from that point all the way to where it was rediscovered in the 1800s. Really, the biblical text was the only place that anyone ever really saw Nineveh being mentioned. And yes, there were skeptics that said there was no Nineveh whatsoever. And even Alexander the Great, who comes in, now granted a number of years later, Alexander the Great had a major battle outside of Nineveh and had no idea that there had been a city there at all. It had been so destroyed. And so here, every place where someone finds something and it confirms that the Bible is historically accurate, or how in whatever way that it is in fact accurate. Now, we begin with this, Job 41:11, who has preceded me? This is God asking that I should pay him. Everything under heaven is mine. But I also want to read this, getting into this next section. And it occurred to me too late, as in right here in this building, that I should have put it in, and I suddenly remembered it. So it is Job 38, verse 31. This is God speaking to Job, or Job 38, verse 31. Can you bind the cluster of the Pleiades? He is mentioning constellations, the stars. Can you bind the cluster of the Pleiades, or loose the belt of Orion? Can you bring out Mazzaroth in its season, or can you guide the great bear with its cubs? Once again, this isn't a literal great bear with literal cubs. These are constellations. Do you know the ordinance of the heavens? Can you set their dominion over the earth? The answer to that is no. No. This is in space that is way too large. We have not seen the edge of the universe. The best we can see is darkness. Where is the edge of that universe? We see stars all the way through there and other things that happen to be out there. But whether it is planets or asteroids or moons or whatever, comets, whatever, that we cannot set any of those, none of it, in order whatsoever. Now, we are going into day 4, and we just read very quickly. Then God said, This is day 4. Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and seasons and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light on the earth. And it was so. Then God made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. God set them in the firmament of the heavens to give light on the earth and to rule over the day and over the night and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. So the evening and the morning were the 4th day. Here is this pattern. Concerning day, it has a number, 4 with this one, going from 1 actually to 6 in creation. Then the 7th day God ceased. He ceased his creating. It was done. God rested, so which means he stopped. The 6th day was it. Everything was completed. The evening and the morning is actually emphasizing that this can only be a 24-hour period. This is, in the Hebrew language, this is how you can know whether that word for day means more than a day, such as it could mean a lifetime. It could mean, like in the day of Babylon, it could mean quite a number of years, over a lifetime, or whether it means just one single 24-hour period. Well, in this case, it's just a 24-hour period. That's all it is. All right, now, we talked about the creation model versus the evolution model, the atheistic model, the naturalistic model. The creation model, does it stand up? And the answer is, every way you look, it stands. And I don't mean from the conjecture of some astrophysicist who's made some kind of claim, because we see claim after claim after claim fall flat. It could be taught for decades as being the truth, and then all of a sudden, oh, well, that didn't work, did it? And you're talking about the lifetime of various people and the career of various people of where they thought something to be true and it wasn't. It turned out to be entirely false. Now, we just look at this. Let there be lights in the firmament of heavens. Okay, we understand that to be true. You have the 2 great lights. The greater light to rule the day, obviously that's the sun. God didn't have to tell us that. We could figure that out. The lesser light to rule the night, that is the moon. Once again, we didn't have to figure that out. And then the stars as well. Everything else that happens to be out there. And he speaks them into existence. And we would expect to find the greater and the lesser lights fully formed and functioning from the beginning. Fully formed. And in fact, they have been. Here we have the sun. It produces light, heat, and untold energy per second. I have no idea how you would even measure the energy coming off of that. Because you look at this particular, I would call that a flame. This is an explosion. Okay, you could fit several Earths inside that. That's how big that is. That's huge. And the sun itself is 109 times larger than the earth. You could fit 109 earths inside the sun. You can do that. And it is set at a distance, because you get too close to it, you're going to burn up. But as we've already stated a number of weeks ago, you get too far away from it and you freeze. And that would mean even the atmosphere would freeze. Now here we have the moon. The moon is smaller and it's closer, and we made mention a number of weeks back that from our viewpoint, the sun and the moon are the same size. That's how you can have a total solar eclipse of where the moon goes right over the sun, and you see the corona around the moon of the sun shining behind the moon. You don't see anything else of the sun. from our vantage point, from our view, they're identical in size, but they're not. This one is just considerably colder. It is, I'm closer, it is colder, much colder. It is cold, and it also reflects light. It doesn't generate light at all. It reflects it. Now, we have this photo. All right, this is me on a picnic, and Now, okay, so you will notice, you have your Apollo astronaut, all right, you will notice how bright this is. Of course, the lighting is from the sun. You'll notice how bright the lighting is and how extreme you go from light to dark, all right, which you can be that on the earth too, but quite often you don't have that kind of contrast. But you'll also notice, and this is what the naysayers say, those that do not believe we ever went to the moon. They say, where are the stars? Do you know where the stars are? All right? You can't see the stars. The stars are there. You can't see the stars. The cameras have to close down their aperture because it's too bright. This is too bright. And in closing it down, you can't see the stars from a photo on the moon. You can't see it. Now, if it was pointed directly up and not against the surface of the moon, because the surface of the moon is too bright, you point it directly up, you can see the stars. But you can't see the stars on that. But one is this is too bright. Plus, that is his is just a brilliant white. Is what that is. I don't know if you can see this, but it's called regolith, is what it's called. It is dust that is on the moon. All right? And the astronauts actually were covered in regolith, going from Apollo 11 on. All right? And actually, just as an aside, the regolith or the dust on the moon is kind of nasty stuff because it's not talcum powder, it's actually very sharp and can get into your skin. And you don't want to breathe it. Of course, they're not here, but guess what they're doing? They're going back into the lunar module and they're taking it with them on their boots and on their suit. And they had to be very careful about that. They did not know. Apollo 11 is the one that found out about it. And yeah, it would get into their skin. It would. Because it's very, very sharp. And be that as it may, highly reflective. And I have this photo as well. You'll notice there's a sheen that is found there. Highlight off of the sun. Highlight because of the sun. Of course, this is taken from a satellite going around the moon, but you can see that it does reflect, and that is the one that rules the night. It doesn't shine from its own illumination. It is like a gigantic mirror, is what it is, kind of like one. Here we have the phases of the moon, and this brings in precisely what was stated concerning that of times and seasons. All right, this would be times. That this is a regular lunar cycle going from your waxing crescent to your waning crescent, and that last spot you can't see because that's a new moon down at the lower right. You can't see that one. But it is regular as to how many days going from one phase to another phase. It's precise. And therein you can see the passage of time. So many days have passed between that one and that one, that one and that one, that one and that one. It doesn't take long as long as you're observant. And today, fewer and fewer people are, and not really looking at the night sky, and they're not really looking at nature whatsoever. But you can figure it out. It wouldn't take you long at all to figure it out, that this is on a very regular basis. Now, we might expect, if God created this, we might expect the possibility of something else beyond this, though. And I want you to see something. Here we have our nearest neighbor, that's the moon. It has a specific purpose. Here is us. What we're on has a specific purpose. It's different than the moon's. And the moon is made, it doesn't look anything. These two don't look alike, except they're round. One is smaller than the other, that is our moon. And one is a very cold rock, or hot, maybe even depending on there's quite a difference from the dark side of the moon to the lit side of the moon. There's a difference in temperature there. But the other has an atmosphere and is teeming with life. Life on land, life in the sky, life in the ocean. It's teeming. There is an enormous difference. Now I want you to look at these, because this, and I'm continuing to use Pluto in the planets, even though I'm beginning to be convinced that it's not a planet. They're calling it a dwarf planet. Okay, that's a good compromise for me. But I was always taught that, and I just feel like I'm dedicated to Pluto. I don't know. But okay, so Mercury looks like our moon, but it's much hotter. Mercury does look like our moon. But look at these. One would say, okay, Venus and Mars look very similar, but you're looking at the atmosphere of Venus, you're looking at the ground of Mars. They are very different. They are different planets altogether. Of course, ours is stuck in the middle. That is entirely unique. But here we have Jupiter. Going from this point to Neptune, from Jupiter to Neptune, we have lots of atmosphere and storms. Lots of storms. Going from Jupiter and Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. And Neptune is the worst. Neptune, when they thought that Neptune, being so far away from the sun, couldn't have really much wind of anything, discovered it's got storms on that, and worse than Jupiter. They're going at supersonic speeds at times, the wind is, on Neptune. That doesn't happen on Jupiter. Saturn has rings, but so does Uranus and Neptune. They have rings as well. But that one has the noticeable rings to it. What am I getting at? What am I getting at in all this? And then you have Pluto out there. What am I getting at? They're not the same. If everything came together like they want to say, and I mean the atheists want to say, that there was a mass explosion, you have all these things that the dust of stars and the dust of the elements, and they're all coalescing and they're all coming together to create our sun, coming together to create all of these planets in here. They should all be a homogeneous gray. They should all look like that. But they don't. They're all very different. From core to atmosphere, they're all very different. Some of them have magnetosphere like we do. Some of them don't. And they're all very different. The surface of Jupiter, they're still debating on that one, of what that surface even looks like. And they're coming to this really weird conclusion of calling it fuzzy, which I would think more squishy. I don't know. A fuzzy surface just seems very strange to say that. But it doesn't appear to be solid, whereas ours is very solid. Ours is quite solid. But every single one of these is different, completely. And like I say, from the core to the end, they don't know why Neptune should have storms, except it's got to be getting heat from its own core. It's got to be, for it to have any wind. It's got to be. Something's got to be heating it up, and it's not the sun. That's too far away. But all of these are quite different. Okay, and going from the Earth on, you have moons. Earth has one, Mars has two. One would think, okay, Jupiter has three. No, Jupiter has 95. Saturn has 274, plus all those asteroids that are around it. And you have high winds here. You have the rings here are anywhere from 500 to 1,000 objects. It's more than that. But Uranus has 28 moons, Neptune has 16 moons, and Pluto has 5. And you have from Jupiter to Neptune high winds, almost perpetual, and everything from thin atmosphere to no atmosphere. And even Pluto has an atmosphere. And here's concerning Pluto. Pluto is slightly smaller than Triton, which is a moon of Neptune. Pluto is smaller still than that. And Pluto, its largest moon is Charon. And Charon is half the size of Pluto. And it doesn't rotate or orbit like our moon does, because Pluto is too small, that the center of this orbit is actually off of Pluto, where Pluto circles this and that circles Pluto. And another weird thing is that this face here always looks at Charon, and the face that is looking toward Pluto always looks at Pluto. So if you were standing on Pluto here, you would always see Charon every day, however long a day is. Every single day you would see that. This is objects from what's known as the Kuiper Belt. Here's the Kuiper Belt here in the red. And this is very much similar, like the asteroid belt that's between Mars and Jupiter, but this is much, much larger. And it's on the outer edge of our solar system. And that's where Pluto is found. Now here's another thing. This doesn't have a name yet, except 2002 XV93, and then you have these other numbers that are there. This is beyond Pluto, and the thing about it is, it's only 320 miles across, but it has an atmosphere. And they don't know how it could. They don't know how it could possibly have an atmosphere. And here are some of what are known as the Plutinos or trans-Neptunian objects. These are large objects that happen to be in the Kuiper Belt that they regard as dwarf planets, or at least some do. Okay, now, we would expect to find the stars fully formed and functioning. We would expect to see that. And yeah, they are. And these are just various images of galaxies that have these beautiful photos. And I have made mention for the past couple of years concerning the James Webb Telescope, that it is a new thing. It's only been operational for the past 2 years, a little over 2 years now. But it is seeing things that we've never seen before. And they were expecting to find kind of hazy things of galaxies that hadn't been formed yet, stars that were just forming. They were expecting to see things like that, but they didn't. They found fully formed galaxies, rotating like all the other galaxies. And now they're coming to the understanding, and this is the corner you painted yourself in. And I heard a man talking about this, that you're looking at galaxies. Now this is from the atheist naturalistic standpoint, galaxies that must be older than the universe. But they know that can't be. They know that can't be. And they know they've got a problem. And are they going to, well, Once again, just like our quote there, everything that is seen, everything that's investigated, it's never going to contradict the Bible. It's always going to support the Bible. Where the Bible may make some kind of statement, it is going to be a fact. And Genesis doesn't have to adjust. Genesis 1 doesn't have to adjust itself. It's precisely what we would have thought. It certainly doesn't change Genesis chapter 1. I can be very surprised that, wow, you can actually see something that far away. But it doesn't change anything. Now, we have the signs and seasons for days and years. Here is this understanding of the passage of time. And we would expect to find that purpose, as a matter of fact. Okay, so here is the sun schedule for Decula, Georgia, May 2026. And we're on May 20. Today, the sun rose at 6:29 and 13 seconds. It will be sunset at 8:35 and 5 seconds. And it'll be twilight until 9:01 and 41 seconds. All right, that's precise. And you could, in fact, do this. It doesn't change from year to year. Okay, so it doesn't change from year to year. We could look at what was the sun doing at this spot 3,000 years ago. It's doing the same thing. Same sunrise. I don't know what the weather was. Same sunrise, same sunset. That doesn't change. And the same thing actually for the moon. Here's our moon schedule. Now the moon, because of the phases, that does change because it is on a 29-point-something day schedule. All right, and so for us, where are we? We're in May. This is showing our full moon for May actually is May 1st. We get a blue moon, by the way, May 1st and May 31st. We get 2 full moons in 1 month. And that's what's known as a blue moon. That you get that second full moon in there. And it happens. It doesn't happen very often, but it happens. It's nothing extraordinary. But just for the sake of it, here is where we are right now. We're in a waxing crescent. It's 21% illuminated. It's 4 days since the new moon. And this is the first phase after the full moon. And it's best to view this after sunset. That's when it's not going to be rising then. It's going to be considerably further down the sky or across the sky than that. Now, just for the fun of it, and I looked this up. I didn't figure it out. I had to look this up. But yeah, this is 2,000 years ago. So Wednesday, May 20th, 26 AD. Not 2026, 26 AD. Yeah, it was a full moon. All right, on that particular day. And the entire world would have been under that same full moon. And this also is what is known as a micro moon, in that it was further away on that particular full moon, as opposed to one that's a giant moon, of where it's a little bit closer. Now, this is just a list of comets. I can't even read it, but just to let you know, there's a lot of comets, and this shows what the comet's name, which really most of them do not have a name that, like you've got P200 something, but the last time they were seen and the next time they should be around. Now, we just play a game. What if the sky was always the same shade of gray? Always. No matter when you got up, no matter when you went to bed, no matter what happened, it is the same shade of gray. There is no night, there is no distinct night, no distinct day. It's not there. What if, and there are no stars, there's nothing to see whatsoever? How would we know? And this would be saying we don't have any, there's nothing in the sky. That's what I'm saying. There's absolutely nothing in the sky. How would we have a sense of the passage of time? Now, we really wouldn't, except when long spans of time happen. When would you go to bed? No. You just, whenever you're tired, I guess you go to bed. Usually, it's when it gets into nighttime. You're tired, obviously, and you go to bed. And then daytime, you're back up again. But you have that understanding, a day just passed. Without the sun, there is no day. And there's also nothing that you could call a night either. It would just be perpetually dark. But in ours, it's just perpetually gray. How would you know the passage of time? Now, there would be no tides. There would be no movement of tides because there would be no moon. And I guess the only way that one could kind of gather a passage of time would be looking at the movement of a stream or something like that. I don't know, but that can fail you. What I'm getting at is that we have a sense of the passage of time. When a day passes, when a month passes, when a year passes, and all of that is because of what's in the heavens. And one can say, well, I know it's summer because it's hot. Well, that's because of the sun. I know it's winter because it's cold. That's because you're getting less sun. All right, that's the seasons are based off of what's happening in the sky. That's what's happening. And here is this whole idea of understanding times, of seasons. You have winter, spring, summer, fall. All that. That has to do with the position of the sun as compared to the earth. You have tides. You have day. You have day, sunrise. Night is sunset. 24 hours sunrise to sunset. I'm sorry, sunrise to sunrise is 24 hours, thereabouts. You have a month is full moon every 29.53 days. 3 months is solstice to equinox. 6 months is solstice to solstice. Year is constellation. Certain constellations return in a certain spot of the sky. There are certain constellations now in the sky that you will not see in December. Certain ones. Come December, these won't be here. Or you can see them now, but you won't see them later. Now, here's another thing concerning what's in the sky. Notice, this is a time-lapse photo, and what you're looking at are the stars spinning in the night sky. Why are they spinning? Because the earth is spinning. And that's showing you the spin of the earth. But you will notice there's something right in the middle of all this that isn't blurry. It's not moving. It's right in the middle of that. That is called, we call it Polaris. That is the North Star. Those of today, we have GPS. But once you figure out that star doesn't move, you know where north is at night, as long as you can see the sky. You know where north is. This would be before any compass. You don't have to have a compass if you can see Polaris. You don't have to have that compass. All right? But is this coincidental that we actually have something that will show us where north is? And that is true north. Magnetic north is a little bit off. Okay? But that's showing you true north, is what that's showing you, because that is running, you could take a straight line from that star all the way through the earth, and you'd be going through the axis of the earth, of how the earth is in fact spinning. And there is that star. Now, going south, and this is what was discovered. I think it was the Portuguese that were the first ones to discover this. I think it was in our, what we would call in our day and age. Obviously, I think the ancients saw it too. All right. But they discovered that in going around the Horn of Africa, after they got a certain point, here's the equator. After they got not too far past the equator, they couldn't see Polaris anymore. They couldn't see it. So what are they going to do now? They have to find something else, because if you're in the southern hemisphere, you cannot see all the stars that are in the northern hemisphere. There's a sharing of some, but you can't see what the northern hemisphere can clearly see, because you've got the earth in your way. And vice versa. If you're in the northern hemisphere, you can't see everything that they can see in the southern hemisphere. There are different constellations in the southern hemisphere. And so they had to find something. And there are certain, like Orion, Leo, Aquarius, Libra, Hydra. Those can be seen from either side. But there are others that are more toward what we would just say, as you get further down, you can see them, but those in the north can't see them at all. And so here it is. They discovered the Southern Cross, and I will do this for you. It does make a cross. All right. How does that show? That shows you the direction of south, because the base of the cross always points south. Now, it will move across the sky, but it moves across with the base of the cross pointing south. And with that discovery, okay, now we can navigate with confidence, because we know where due south is. If we know where south is, we know where north is. And we know where east and west happens to be. And so this is called Crux, that's the constellation, or it's also called the Southern Cross. And there is navigation. Now, the heavens declare, Psalm 19:1, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows his handiwork. Day unto day utters speech, and night unto night reveals knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line has gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them he has set the tabernacle of the sun, which is like a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoices like a strong man to run his race. Its rising is from one end of heaven, and its circuit to the other end, and there's nothing hidden from its heat. All right. Now, we go now to day 6. I'm skipping day 5 simply for the sake of brevity. We're going to day 6. We could go into day 5, which would be fish and birds. We could do that. But I'm going directly now to day 6. Then God said, let the earth bring forth the living creatures according to its kind, cattle and creeping things and beasts of the earth, each according to its kind. And it was so. Notice the word kind. Each living creature according to its kind. Cattle and beasts of the earth according to its kind. And it was so. And also the creeping thing. All right. Every creeping thing. Well, what's a creeping thing? Well, some of them I don't really like. Spiders is a creeping thing I don't really like. But this is the day that they would have been made, along with the tick and the centipede and many other things. But this is everything living on the land. And God made the beasts of the earth according to its kind, cattle according to its kind, and everything that creeps on the earth according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. And so we have these kinds that are here. All right, let's just make a point for a second that when Noah and it was God who brought the animals to Noah. Noah did not have to go searching for any animal. God brought the animals to him wherever Noah happened to be. And I don't know where he lived. All right, for as I know, Noah, and do not think that Noah must have lived there along the Mediterranean. He must have lived where Israel is today. It doesn't say that. All right, could he have? Yeah, he could have. He could have lived here too. We don't know where he lived, but it doesn't matter. God brought in all the animals. He's the one that did it. But he didn't have to bring every variety of dog. He just has to bring in 2 of dog kind, male and female. That's it. That's all he has to do. Same thing concerning horses, or just name the animal, where it's just of that kind. That's all he has to do. And so you don't necessarily have this enormous array of whatever animal you can think of. All he has to do is bring in that kind, and from that kind can be all these other varieties of that animal. That's still a chicken, or that's still a penguin, or that's still a this or a that. But it's a different variety, is what you have. Okay, what animal do you see in here? I hope you can see it. Can you find the animal? Yeah, that's a horse. Okay, we're going to learn in just a second. It's not technically a horse. Okay, yeah, it looks like, if we go by the depiction, this looks like it's a wind-up toy. If you can, but these are actually, these are war chariots. This is from by the way. This is called the Standard of and this guy is smiling while he's about to spear somebody. But but this is the Standard of You've got they look like donkeys to me, and you'll see that they're kind of decorated around the collar. And but okay, now tell me, what animals do you see here? Those are horses. All right, there happens to be 2 horses on an Egyptian chariot. All right, hauling an Egyptian chariot. Also going to war, by the way. Now this is this one is a horse, and despite style, despite that of artistic ability, this one, Grant, is drawn on a cave wall. All right, despite any of that, we still recognize them as horses. And I can't date any one of them except basically the one. I think we could date that one. I'm sure the Egyptian one is dated. This one from the cave, I don't trust their dating on that whatsoever. I know it's got to be old. But let's talk about horse kind, and it's Equidae. Equidae is that horse kind. And we have, just like we saw with the apples last week, there's a lot of horse kind. This is not all of them. But in the horse kind, over here you see, going way up there is a huge draft horse. And there are others, such as this one is a monstrous thing. We also have the zebra over here. There also would be ponies that are considerably smaller, and others that are larger than a zebra, but certainly smaller than this draft horse. And they're used for different purposes. A draft horse is very good for hooking up to some heavy object and moving the heavy object. He's very good at that. A zebra would not be good at that. All right. A mule would be pretty good, probably not quite like the draft horse. And a donkey is good at bearing weight. All of them are somewhat different. Not every one of these would be good in a race. Not every one of them would be. But here we have these different types. We have this enormous draft horse. This fuzzy guy is in Iceland. He's an Icelandic horse. That's a Shetland pony over there. And these are Mustangs right there. These are the breed of horse that came with the Spanish centuries ago. Horses were not on this continent before Spain came.
Is that also called a Clydesdale?
Well, that may technically be a Clydesdale. I don't know, but yeah, Clydesdale is in the draft horse category. Yeah, and that could be. It looks like one, but I don't know. Yeah, I know the furry hooves down here. Coming down, and this looks like leg warmers, and you see, they're all very different, and you see, and I have this photo here to show you scale with a human being. All right, that it probably you don't want a big adult sitting on that Shetland. Put a child on, yeah, that's all right. That'll be okay. But here we go. We know this. A horse and a donkey produces a mule. All right. What is peculiar about a mule that these can do but the mule cannot? It can't reproduce. That's right. It can't. The horse and the donkey coming together to get a mule. I know of some that they love mules. They love mules. They like them better than a horse, and they certainly like them better than a donkey. And that a mule has a different character about it than either of these do. They carry some traits, obviously. Now we go to this one. This is a zebra and a horse, and you get a zorse. Beautiful animal. Beautiful animal. And that's because we're dealing with the same kind. We're dealing with the same kind. And this is, And I was reading concerning the zorse that the zorse is not quite as wild, because when you talk about a zebra is a wild animal. A zebra isn't necessarily domesticated. A horse is, and a zorse is like in between. That it will show some tendencies from the zebra side that you don't really want, and some things from the horse side that it's easier to deal with than a zebra. Now we come to this. You have a zebra and a donkey, you get a zonkey. All right, I'm not making these things up. Okay, this is a zebroid. A zebroid is a zebra that has crossed with something else in the family, something else in the kind. And there is a difference, though I can't see what it is, between a zonkey and a z-donk. Z-donks are more rare. Or a zonkey, they will say, is a male zebra, female donkey. And a z-donk is a male donkey and a female zebra. But it's the same thing. I mean, you're getting the same thing. I can't find any difference whatsoever. It's just one is more rare than the other. And really, okay, what happens? What happens when you got plenty of donkeys over here, but you don't have any zebras? What happens? Well, you can't have a zonkey. All right, same thing with, I got plenty of horses, I have no zebras. Well, you can't have a zorse. But you get some zebras in, and, well, there's the possibility of having a zonkey or a zorse. Now, we're coming back to what I was saying. This is from the Standard of here. This is an animal called a kunga. Kunga, they thought for a while was a mythological animal. They could not quite understand. They didn't realize they were seeing depictions of it. They didn't realize it. But there was writing concerning a kunga. And it was so specific, and it seemed so common and so well beloved that they had to come to the conclusion, this isn't mythological, but we don't know what it is. But by way of a lot of research, it's from a Syrian wild onager and a domesticated donkey. Once again, male on this side, female on this side. You get a kunga. And a kunga is a mix of these two. And if the problem is today is I'm not sure there's any more Syrian wild onagers. So you can never have another kunga ever. Unless there's some of these around, then you can have a kunga. But there came, and we're talking about in the ancient Mesopotamian world. Okay, now in Egypt, that's not Mesopotamia. In Egypt, they had horses. And when horses began to be, the horse replaced the kunga. And so they went to horses because and really replaced the donkey as well. Because if you didn't know it, donkeys can be very stubborn, and I guess kungas could be stubborn too. I don't know, but the horse was faster, and that's good, especially in battle, and was less temperamental than anything of this side of the family. But it's just one of those things concerning kinds. And that this animal did not evolve. It's a mix of these two. They didn't evolve. They're all created, or the possibility genetically of these things from the very beginning. Absolute beginning. And okay, we have gone way over time today. And I thank everybody for being with us. And we'll continue next week.